Geodude is a literal rock with arms. In the original 151 Pokémon roster, it stands out by not standing out at all. If you played Red or Blue, you probably caught one early in Mount Moon, used it to absorb a few hits, then permanently deposited it in your PC the moment you found a creature with a pulse. Even modern spin-offs like Pokémon Sleep treat it like a background prop, assigning it sleep styles that consist of sitting perfectly still on the dirt. This design carries a specific biological contradiction. It is a legless, solid stone entity that spends its life hovering above the ground. And in a game defined by numbers, it possesses a move pool that allows it to punish opponents for being faster and stronger. The species exists at the intersection of production shortcuts and mathematical niches, showing how a basic design can house surprising depth. The biological investigation starts with a basic physics problem. Geodude has no legs, no wings, and is entirely composed of solid stone, yet it spends most of its life floating above the ground. The most coherent in-universe explanation is that its body generates a localized magnetic field, allowing it to repel against the iron in the Earth's crust. This aligns with the Alola region variant, which naturally adopts an electric typing to go with its rock typing. The citizens of the ancient Hisui region in Legends Arceus even weaponized this biology for household chores. Characters use a hovering Geodude to weigh down pickle jars, letting the creature lift itself up when it's time to open the jar. The actual reason for this floating behavior involves an animation shortcut. During the production of the early anime, drawing a rock dragging itself across the dirt frame by frame was considered too complex, so the studio had the creature hover to simplify the movement. An attempt to cut animation costs created a permanent canonical quirk in the species' biology. As Geodude ages and consumes enough material, it undergoes a logical progression. It expands into Graveler, gaining a pair of sturdy legs and a second set of arms to support its massive new boulder form. Then it evolves into Golem, and the biology deviates. It sheds 2 arms, loses fingers and toes, and grows a scaly reptilian turtle head that shares no visual traits with previous forms. To explain this regression, the community developed the link cable DNA exchange theory. Graveler doesn't evolve by leveling up. It only evolves during a digital trade between players, specifically alongside another Generation 1 creature, Machoke. The theory posits that the hardware facilitating the trade isn't perfect. As the data of the 2 heavy fighting creatures passes through the same physical wire, their digital biology tangles and corrupts. The code stitches back together incorrectly. Machoke's final form, Machamp, ends up with Graveler's flat face and its missing extra set of arms. Graveler's final form, Golem, inherits Machoke's scaly snout and 2-armed humanoid stance. By treating the evolution not as organic growth, but as a digital data corruption, a massive design inconsistency suddenly makes perfect mechanical sense. Moving from theoretical lore to the mathematical reality of competitive battling, Geodude occupies a specialized niche in Smogon's Little Cup, a format where only level 5 unevolved Pokémon are allowed to fight. On paper, it is often unusable. Its speed stat is abysmal, and if a player needs a bulky rock or ground type, competitors like Rhyhorn and Larvitar hit harder and offer better raw survival rates. This radar chart compares the base stats of Geodude against Rhyhorn and Larvitar. Geodude loses in almost every traditional metric, but it features a unique spike in a category the others lack entirely: utility. Geodude bypasses its speed deficit by utilizing Sucker Punch. This attack has built-in priority, allowing Geodude to skip the turn order and strike frail, faster opponents before they can launch their own attacks. When its health gets low, it executes its primary function, Explosion. By sacrificing itself, it deals mathematically absurd damage to almost any defensive wall on the opponent's team, instantly clearing the board. Geodude demonstrates how a specialized move pool can matter more than base stat totals when a player needs to dismantle a specific defensive line. This specific toolkit led the community to engineer a calculated trap known as the Bronzer Lure. Players realized that if you equip Geodude with a life orb and teach it the unexpected move Fire Punch, you turn a perceived weakness into a weapon. The player intentionally leaves Geodude exposed to bait the opponent into swapping to Bronzer, a steel defensive wall that normally absorbs Geodude's attacks. The moment Bronzor enters the field, Geodude hits it with a boosted fire punch, removing the tier's best defense in 2 hits. By weaponizing the opponent's own statistical assumptions, the player removes the biggest obstacle on the board, leaving the opposing team exposed to a late-game sweep. To avoid drawing a dragging animation, a studio created a floating rock. To facilitate a hardware link cable, designers created a tangled, corrupted evolution. These production constraints birthed the most compelling biological headcanon in the franchise. Meanwhile, its severe statistical limitations forced competitive players into a corner, leading them to engineer hyper-calculated explosive strategies just to secure a spot on the roster. Whether you approach the franchise through the lens of biological lore or the cold math of competitive optimization, every creature has a distinct role to play. The history of the franchise is written in these overlaps between technical limitations and player ingenuity, often starting with something as unassuming as a rock with arms.